Romans 4:16 and 17 tells us this. Therefore it is of faith that it might be by grace, to the end the promise might be sure to all the seed, not to that only which is of the law, but to that also which is of the faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all. As it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations before him, whom he believed, even God, who quickeneth the dead, and calleth those things which be not as though they were. So later, David would be king of Israel, and he would make Jerusalem the capital. And to increase protection from enemies that could come from the north, he captured the lands held by the Jebusites. And so that included this area that the temple would be built on. And then later, he sinned, and he took a census. What was wrong with that? Well, it was pride. And the great number filled David and the citizens of Israel with pride. Look at how great we're becoming. So God dealt with David personally and Israel nationally. And so in 2 Samuel chapter 24, verses 13 through 25, we find the account there of God dealing with the nation. And he places some choices for David. And so the servant of God, Gad, comes to David and tells him, God is giving you the options. You get to determine how you're going to be dealt with. And so in verse 13 through 25 we read, So Gad came to David and told him, and said unto him, Shall 7 years of famine come unto thee in thy land? Or wilt thou flee 3 months before thine enemies, while they pursue thee? Or that there be 3 days pestilence in thy land? Now advise, and see what answer I shall return to him that sent me. And David said unto Gad, I am in a great strait. Let us fall now into the hand of the Lord. For his mercies are great, and let me not fall into the hand of man. So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning even to the time appointed, and there died of the people from Dan even to Beersheba 70,000 men. And when the angel stretched out his hand upon Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord repented him of the evil, and said to the angel that destroyed the people, It is enough, stay now thine hand. And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing place of Araunah, the Jebusite. And David spake unto the Lord when he saw the angel that smote the people, and said, Lo, I have sinned, and I have done wickedly, but these sheep, what have they done? Let thine hand, I pray thee, be against me, and against my father's house. And Gad came that day to David, and said unto him, Go up, rear an altar unto the Lord in the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. And David, according to the saying of Gad, went up as the Lord commanded. And Araunah looked and saw the king and his servants coming on toward him. And Araunah went out and bowed himself before the king on his face upon the ground. And Araunah said, Wherefore is my lord the king come to his servant? And David said, To buy the threshing floor of thee, to build an altar unto the Lord, that the plague may be stayed from the people. And Araunah said unto David, Let my lord the king take and offer up what seemeth good unto him. Behold, here be oxen for burnt sacrifice, and threshing instruments, and other instruments of the oxen for wood. All these things did Araunah as a king give unto the king. And Araunah said unto the king, The Lord thy God accept thee. And the king said unto Araunah, Nay, but I will surely buy it of thee at a price. Neither will I offer burnt offerings unto the Lord my God of that which doth cost me nothing. So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. And David built there an altar unto the Lord, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. So the Lord was entreated for the land, and the plague was stayed from Israel. So David repented, and he wanted to show God how serious his repentance was. So he purchased land that he had already captured so that he might offer a sacrifice to God. This place, the place where Abraham offered Isaac, is the place where David offered a sacrifice of repentance, and later his son Solomon would build the great temple. So 2 Chronicles chapter 3 verse number 1 records for us, "Then Solomon began to build the house of the Lord at Jerusalem in Mount Moriah, where the Lord appeared unto David his father in the place that David had prepared in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite." So whatever is built here is not the dominant issue. What happened here in this place is what should warm our hearts. What we see today is a Muslim shrine, built on top of a foundation that was a part of the second temple that Herod the Great had built. The only time anyone ever built things on a level surface in Jerusalem was during the Roman period when Herod the Great was the king. So the great platform which served as the foundation for the second temple is actually built upon arches. So the original slope wasn't backfilled as we might do, but rather the platform was built off grade upon these great limestone arches. Incidentally, some recent excavations within the past 5 years were done under the Muslim-controlled site, and several dump trucks of earth were removed without any historical oversight whatsoever. And it was feared that significant clues were going to be forever lost, but the dirt was actually located and has been purchased by the Israeli Antiquities Department, and the archaeologists are hopeful that clues as to the original temple site will continue to emerge from that earth that's been recovered. So currently on this site you have the Muslim shrine known as the Dome of the Rock. Now Muslims note this as the site where Abraham offered his son for a sacrifice to God. So do we really have something in common with the Muslims? Well, not exactly. While they note it as a place where Abraham was to sacrifice a son, the son in question is not Isaac, but Ishmael, the firstborn son of Abraham, and the one who Muslims look to as their patriarch. So it's a shrine to honor Abraham and Ishmael. But if you could go inside, which you can only do if you're a Muslim, and if you could read the inscription that is repeated hundreds of times as it circles the inside of the gold dome, you would find not a tribute to Abraham or Ishmael, but a warning that Jesus Christ is not the Son of God. And you better not say he is, which is kind of a strange inscription to include in your shrine to honor Abraham and Ishmael, one would think. A clue to why such an inscription would be included in a Muslim shrine is that located behind the Dome of the Rock is a Catholic church that notes the death of Christ. In fact, the Dome of the Rock was not built in the center of the temple platform, but was placed to one side as if to obscure the view of the ancient church. So as we look at the model again, we're looking from the south. The Mount of Olives is going to be over on our right. But I want us to focus on the area to the left. In Jesus' time, this area, higher in elevation, was where much of the aristocracy lived. In this area, they have discovered the remains of a home that belonged to the high priest, Caiaphas. A church was built on the site to note the denial of Jesus by Peter, and that's called the Church of St. Peter Gallicantu, which is cock crow in Latin. You might be able to make out the golden rooster perched on top of this church. When you take a walk down to the bowels of this church, built on the ruins of the house of Caiaphas, you find the dungeon, where it is believed that Christ spent his final night. I got to tell you, it's an emotionally dark place.